actually do what it should be doing here. And then I wait for it to pop up on this screen to let know the stream's happening. And I think it is. It says excellent connection, so fingers crossed it stays that way. All right, here we go. Hello, everybody.
Wonderful.
Welcome to Houston. We have a problem. It is episode number 428, a little special Thursday show. I've got Twitter's Thomas Petterfee in here. He is the Sears wizard, the Sears guru, the Eddie Lampert whisperer. And we're going to talk Sears today. A couple of reminders off the top. One, don't forget to send me self-addressed stamped envelopes, and I will get you your Eclipse glasses so that you can, stare at the sun and not go blind. I apologize. Rosa had to postpone again yesterday, and now Ramadan is beginning this weekend, and she won't be able to come on until after Ramadan. So that'll be sometime in April. Fingers crossed. But she's a busy lady. She's dealing with family experiencing war. She's got tons of clients. She's engaged and trying to plan her wedding, and it's just one of these days she'll grace us with her presence. But until then, we've got to talk Sears. And what do you like being called?
I guess you could call me you could call me Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie. Okay, all right. We'll call you Charlie. That'll be good because you got a lot of pseuonyms out there. And I didn't know which.
I know. I used to be Sears forever.
Okay.
But I guess that wasn't forever. But I will be reborn.
Excellent.
At some point as Sears.
His audio is a little soft.
Yeah.
I had to crank it up for everyone, so hopefully you guys can hear him.
Yeah, chat. Let us know. I unfortunately I can't see chat right now just from my setup. But hello to everybody, and I appreciate you for having me on. Houston, I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller, and thankfully Daphne hooked us up together. Yes. She's I love Daphne. She's a wonderful person, and so are you. So I appreciate you for having me on.
Daphne's fantastic. Yes, thank you, Daphne, for getting this all done for us. Okay, so I guess we'll just jump right into it. Do you want to give us a background of Sears and Lampert first?
Sure. Yeah. Yes. So I suppose to understand Sears as an investment, you really have to understand the character of Eddie Lampert and how he came to be the owner of Sears. He owns 48.7 or 48.8% of the stock. And Lampert is an interesting character. His grandmother taught him how to pick stocks, and he was born in Roslyn, New York, with a middle class upbringing. His father, I believe, was a lawyer who worked in Manhattan in a firm called Lampert and Lampert. But his father died sadly when he was 14, and as his mother said, he very much took on the role of man of the house. So he used his knowledge from investing, I guess. And began to seriously take on that study. He went to Yale to study economics, and in his first year, he was tapped to join the Skull and Bones, which is, I'm sure you know, a very interesting society. Many of its alumni went on to be, formidable members of various industries, politics,
presidents,
movers and shakers. That's right, presidents. Yes, actually, interesting enough, George Bush was he. They all have secret names, and George Bush's name has something to do with the fact that he got with a lot of ladies. So it's quite an interesting story. And at one point in Bush's presidency, the Bones men got together with Bush, and to sort of give him some pep, because he seemed to have lost the reins, which is interesting. He was kind of always a very malleable guy. He just kind of rolled with whatever politics was going on. So I believe that's kind of why the establishment liked him in power, because I'm not going to defend George Bush here, but anyway, Lampert was a very he was a great student, and then his roommate in college was Steve Mnuchin, who, as you know, became Trump's Treasury Secretary. Very interestingly enough, and there's a law that Mnuchin passed that will be very pertinent later in our tale.
Okay.
But so basically, so Lampert and Mnuchin were very good. They were roommates,
Whoa.
and Mnuchin's father had some sort of position at Goldman, and so Lampert went and worked for Goldman straight out of college.
Yeah.
He worked at a very in 1 year he was promoted to the most prestigious desk on trading desk in Goldman, which at the time was the most prestigious bank on Wall Street, which was I believe it was Richard Rainwater's risk arbitrage desk.
Okay.
So he was making split-second decisions on mergers and acquisitions for tens of billions of dollars at the age of we're talking 20, 21.
Dang.
So he was a prodigy of his time.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, Kramer was in Goldman at the time and took a shining to him. And they, funnily enough, ended up being acquaintances. So there's some very interesting Kramer interviews out there about Sears, where you'll see him kind of hedging his kind of shillery about Sears.
Yeah.
And we're going to play later a section of a video from Kramer talking about the potential of Sears. And it was one of his the street, the street, his kind of his outfit he had. You know that video where he's talking about how to run a short into store. This was kind of around the time that he didn't really think that any of these videos would really come out, reach the wider world.
The famous video where he talked about how he takes money from shorts to slam stocks. That one.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Amazingly candid. I remember that came out, because I know both of us are sort of OGs from the GameStop era.
Yep.
And like many of our listeners, and yes, I remember seeing that. It was absolutely shocking, wasn't it? What did he say? That the most important thing is to never tell the truth.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And it really gets into the mentality of these kind of Wall Street guys. They'll just gaslight you right to your face.
Yeah.
But well, I should read something out of a CNN Money article on Fortune. In the Fortune category based on Lampert, and it talks about his time there, and soon after when he basically Lampert was a prodigy. He was a prodigy at Goldman. Everybody knew it, and he basically embarrassed everyone around him because he was making returns of nearly 30%. For the people he's managing, and he was. I'll just read a section here. It says, Lampert, whose contained, shy manner is the last thing you'd expect from a big swinging hedge fund guy. And then a quote from Lampert. It says, I come to this with practical, logical ideas. And then it says, Lampert is the Steve Jobs of the investing world. He thinks differently, and acts differently, with extraordinary results. He's the greatest investor of his generation, says fellow billionaire and one-time mentor Richard Rainwater. And Lampert, who has the numbers to prove it. Numbers to prove it. His hedge fund, ESL Investments, which is what he started after he left Goldman, has delivered an average annual returns of nearly 30% after fees since its 1988 launch, according to several of its investors, who include Dell founder Michael Dell, media mogul David Geffen, and the Tisch family. Geffen, who gave Lampert $200 million to invest in 1992, when Lampert was just 29, says that had he not periodically taken money out for diversification, he would have $9 billion today.
Whew.
As it is, I know, right? As it is, says Geffen, I've made more money from Eddie than from all the businesses I've ever created or sold. Lampert is was wealthier than Warren Buffett at his age, and his 15 billion fund has outperformed Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway during its 18-year span. So that's just a sense of who we're dealing with here. And I mentioned that before he started ESL, when he was working at Goldman on that risk arbitrage desk, the manager of that section of that I guess team in Goldman was brought out in handcuffs And of course, at the time, everyone below that manager would have been shaking in their boots, seeing their careers flash before their eyes. And Lampert actually went and testified in again, well, not against, but as part of that investigation.
Yeah.
But it really dampened his view on the place. He immediately sought to leave. So here we see someone with actual sort of moral standing, and from what I understand, he met with uh, a handful of his mentors who told him there's life after Goldman.
Yeah.
So again, we're seeing a conscience here as an investor, who is a prodigy, a young prodigy. So how do you think about that? What do you think about that? That's totally the different perspective you get from
Yeah.
any article you Google on Lampert or whatever. I mean, they're all just destroying him, calling him the worst person in the world. So what changed? I mean, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to ask. Like, has he really fundamentally changed as a person? I don't think so. But how would you say? What would you
Well,
think?
I mean, like the previous companies that or hedge funds that had returns like that, they always something really squirrely would come out about, the Ponzi scheme or whatever. But nothing has come out about Lampert. It's been 30 years, and with enough of what's going on with Sears and having to deep dive into his holdings and everything, you'd think if he was being shady about this, it would have been evident by now.
Yes,
And
I like.
yeah,
It should be pointed out that he was making those 30% returns when he just had separated himself from Wall Street. He
yeah,
had his own fund, so there's no kind of games that could be played within the investment banking industry. So that again sort of, I guess, admonishes him from any of the kind of slanderous articles you hear.
yeah,
And I remember, listening to you speak about him, and like I love that you spoke about Sears, and you actually got people invested in Sears. Not that it was financial advice, by the way, but it was. I think you were very early on in Sears as well. It's because we were watching the squeeze, the sneeze, and the amount of stocks that had sort of paralleled that spike in Jan
yeah.
2021, and Sears was like fascinating. Like the if you overlay the chart, it's like one for one.
It was
And
it was one of the big
yeah,
zombies that popped the next week.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah. It was. I believe it was the same day. Honestly,
the same day.
like I have to go back and look.
Those all the OTC
Yeah,
ones went like February 1st or something. But
right, right.
now it's 3 years ago now, and
Well,
everything's getting fuzzy at this point.
I know. Gosh, how did you ever think you'd be in this play this long?
No,
I never
I
thought
thought it'd be done by like April of 2021. I was just like, after that second boom of GameStop, I was like, it's done. I'm gonna be a cajillionaire. And then
it.
they hammered it down again. I
I
was like,
lost.
how?
I lost quite a lot on GameStop options, just like on calls.
Oh,
Thinking the day.
yeah,
I
it's gonna keep
remember.
going, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
sell. Yeah,
Well, they got to pay up sometime. So just to get back, so Sears was a very interesting rabbit hole. I think one of the deepest rabbit holes I've ever went in and ever will go down. Interesting enough, when I bought Sears, I was slowly buying, and I was in Europe buying through a European broker. So those shares were CFDs, right? Contract for difference,
mm,
not real shares.
yep,
And that became very evident when we were given a 4-day notice in the middle of the July holidays that our Sears shares would be liquidated
mm,
if we couldn't transfer them out.
yeah,
And we were also made to agree verbally or in writing that if they could not be transferred out in such a short notice, which we were told was going to be very difficult, our shares would be sold for us.
yeah. Penny for the lot,
Um,
probably.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
So this was, in my mind, the sweeping of liquidity for hedge funds throughout Europe, or for the brokers throughout Europe on behalf of the hedge funds. So they would probably have sold them back to hedge funds, short funds at a higher price. I mean,
yeah,
this is just my own speculation, but it seems to make the most sense to me. But people like myself, had to basically uh, uh, threaten litigation to keep our shares. And I started transfer. I opened an account in IBKR, and thankfully they were transferred. But on the last day, it was after the last day of trading of Sears, and so I had my account in IBKR, and I bought angrily. I bought the equivalent of the shares I bought in Sears. That I thought that it completely been sold on me by DeGiro, the worst broker. Stay away. So, and then thankfully the first sort of parcel of shares I bought did come through. So I ended up with enough shares more shares than I thought I'd need. And so I was lucky in that. And then we sector transferred in IBKR to the true ticker, and then I DRS the shit out of those. Yeah. So just to say, like, there was quite nefarious things going on about Sears, and yes, I just guess like that was quite an outrageous situation, which to me spells fraud, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to say, just to get into more, I guess, about Lampert. So he has ESL Investments. It's a very tight knit group. I hear it's kind of like a library. People are in this. The building's in Florida, close to where he lives on Billionaires Bunker Island, and it's about, I don't know, somewhere between 11 and 20 employees, and they're just looking into stocks. They're doing research, and it's private, so you don't know what he's holding. Yeah. And actually, the Yale investment guy, right? Who goes to the alumni and says, "Oh, we might invest in you," or this or that. He actually said, "Oh well," to Lampert, I might invest in you, but you should only if you tell me what stocks you hold." And Lampert refused. Yeah. so that's the kind of guy he is. He's like, kind of, screw you. Yeah. I'll do everything my own way. So again, similar to, I guess, Ryan Cohen, similar to ICANN, you've got this contrarian investor mindset. And so when Lampert saw Kmart being brought into Chapter 7, this was around 2003, 2004. Yeah. He did about 1,000 hours or more of research. And he came to a single conclusion, that there was no reason for this to happen. There was no reason for Kmart to be brought into bankruptcy at all. So he began buying up massive amounts of debt. And this put him in a controlling position of Kmart. He basically walked into the board and was immediately head of the restructuring. Yeah. This was in a Chapter 7. And I've read quotes from the board at the time who said, we don't know who the hell he was. We didn't know who the hell he was. He just arrived, right? Yeah. Now imagine that situation, pretty extraordinary. So he did his obviously he's a wizard at capital allocation, and he does his magic and turns Kmart around. But 3 days before he turned around Kmart, the final order was to be finished. He was kidnapped at gunpoint outside his home in Greenwich, or I believe it was his office, and by three criminals, I guess, and he was brought to a motel, and made to record a video to his wife, and he had a newborn son. I mean, this is obviously a very traumatizing experience. So now I'm going to read a section about this from the kidnapper who was sort of in charge. He says his name was Rose, and it said, or Rose something, at least the second name. He says, it still haunts Rose today that he might not have gone to prison, or if he had killed Lampert and the other kidnappers. And he says, so it was either like, okay, get rid of everybody, but with Gordon, right, this other kidnapper, Lampert was like family almost, right? So there was the head of the operation, and there's one guy who was sort of protecting Lampert within the group of kidnappers, called Shimon Gordon. And he said with Simone Gordon, Lampert was like family almost. He argued against all of that, like don't kill Lampert, don't kill everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, I still think we should have got rid of everybody, but I don't know. I did have to consider that Lampert never gave any problems, so I kind of had to keep my word on that. Rose dismisses the idea of the AutoZone executives offering 3 million for Lampert's murder as a fabrication of one of his cohorts. So obviously Lampert had a lot of shares in AutoZone at the
Yeah.
time, and I believe this line from one of the kidnappers is a distraction to cover from the true story, which you'll see now. But he recalls an intriguing exchange that he says took place between Gordon and Lampert. I heard Eddie. I heard some of the discussions because there was even a discussion when it came to him buying Kmart. He was asking questions such as, "When I get out of here, do you think I should do it?" He said he felt that Kmart. So this is the kidnapper speaking, saying,
Yeah.
or this is the journalist saying what the kidnapper said. He said he felt that Kmart was tied up with something with the mob or mafia. They used it as a piggy bank. That was the first time I'd ever heard. Like, I'm like, shit, the mafia's still around?
Mm-hmm.
But he was, yeah, they went into Wall Street, right?
Yep.
But he was really hesitant about doing it. So this is Lampert being hesitant about buying Kmart because there's a gun pointed at his face, and he's asking this apparently liaison placed within a group of kidnappers to protect Lampert, but also threaten him to not buy Kmart.
Yeah.
Right. So in the end, Rose says the main reason he decided to let Lampert go was that his partners were so inept. By using Lampert's credit card against Rose's instructions, by the way, they ordered some pizza. His partners in crime had alerted police to their whereabouts. Rose said they released Lampert not to get the ransom money, but to call off what was by then a hopeless caper. So there you have it. Like this reporting in Vanity Fair. It's called "Inside the Strange Odyssey of Hedge Fund King Eddie Lampert." Yeah, it's there's a direct threat to Eddie Lampert about his basically his structuring and reemergence of Kmart. I mean, he took it from a chapter 7 to a chapter 11, then to a reemergence. And what happened then? And by the way, Lampert came. He said he thought he would die. He returned to a very welcoming, a warm welcome at his home. But right after that, I mean, there was 3 or 5 days, I believe, till the official reemergence of Kmart.
Yeah.
And he returned. He returned and he did it. And Kmart's share price went from something like $15 to like $120 in about a year. So what now? People would have hailed that as I mean, the media would have covered that as the Lampert premium, right?
Yeah.
Because he was a prodigy at the time. But I often question whether it was actually a very painful closing of shorts. I mean, you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the shorts.
Yeah.
I'd short the shit out of it because this thing's going to chapter 7. It's done. It's never coming back. That's the entire point of chapter 7.
Exactly, and they had a home run.
Yeah.
And Lampert threw a spanner in the works, and he got a shotgun pointed in his face for it.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of people we're dealing with here. And I believe this is why Pulte would say things like, we need to protect Ryan Cohen, because, Ryan Cohen and crew are going after some very serious people, some very serious frauds and criminals. And like we saw what happened to ICANN, right? Mm-hmm. With Hindenburg and I don't know how many billions he lost from.
The stock halved. So.
Jeez, I mean, it's crazy.
From 50 to like 17, right?
Right, and he lost like tens of billions, right, or like some ridiculous amount of money, for what we suspect is being involved in this play. So again, very very interesting stuff. So what I would say now is that what happened then was that I read this book called the Hard Road to the Softer Side.
Yeah.
And by the previous, it was the CEO before Alan Lacey, who was the CEO that Lampert bought Sears from. And Alan Lacey, Arthur Martinez was this CEO's name. And he made a great effort in doing two turnaround attempts of Sears. Now Sears was in decline
Yeah.
for since since the early 80s. Now they had a very successful campaign, the softer side, which was made by the brainchild of Arthur Martinez, who I greatly admire.
Yeah.
But ultimately, and he said it himself, the corporate culture in Sears was built. It was off a military manual.
Mm.
Okay, like people in the top of Sears, they would talk in what was called the Sears code, and it was basically you had a number for every you had a number system for every category, for every store, for every
Yep.
region, and it was they just spoke in numbers. They were so disconnected from the situation on the ground.
Yep.
Um, and and it was like a sort of a calcified corporate culture. It was very, very difficult to change Sears corporate culture. Was the monumental task that Arthur Martinez said ultimately he failed at. Now, after two very admirable turnaround attempts that swung it up for maybe a year to
Mm.
3 years after, and then straight back to it was like a Titanic, right? It was like to try and turn it, but the iceberg's already gonna hit.
Yeah,
So,
one of the
yeah,
fascinating things for me about Sears was the success of the Sears catalog, right? Like as a kid, I wanted the Sears catalog because then I could circle all the things I wanted for Christmas and show my mom, and it was like the exciting thing to arrive every year. And then in the early '90s, they're just like, oh, we're canceling the catalog, we're getting rid of it, and no more catalog sales, right? But this is right like a year before internet sales of products started to begin, and 2 years before Amazon came about. And it turns out all the logistics people that had managed the Sears catalog system ended up getting jobs at Amazon to manage their giant logistics network. Like if Sears had just slowly transitioned from catalog to internet, they would be the largest company in the world right now.
I know. I mean, it's a strange thing to think about, right? Because
Yeah.
like Sears is so innovative. I mean, they partnered with IBM and made Prodigy, right?
Yeah.
The first sort of personal use of the internet through like a CD,
Yeah.
like 10 years before AOL.
Yeah. My
This is a
creepy fifth
company
grade
that,
teacher was
yeah.
on Prodigy all day long. And
Oh dear.
he my freshman year of high school, it turns out he went to prison for, leading a child
Wow.
porn ring on Prodigy,
Okay.
but
Well, there were better uses for Prodigy.
yeah.
Far better uses. But it is amazing, and I also question that narrative as well, just in terms of like, because we both know that Jeff Bezos left Wall Street
Mhm.
and he designed algorithms, right? So
Yeah.
from my perspective, he left, almost had a handshake deal with his mates. He starts Amazon, and then all of a sudden, all of his competitors are getting shorted into the dirt.
Yep.
You know, so that kind of overlaps for me. And then, as well, yes, like Sears, I believe, it was a mix of things. I wouldn't say it was just that, but Sears certainly did miss the ball in some ways. About the catalog, Arthur Martinez canceled the catalog. He was a good CEO.
Yeah.
What he came to when he came into Sears, the catalog wasn't making money, and there was the buyers had shifted. Shoppers' attitudes had shifted.
Yeah.
So like that's something that Sears faced a lot. In its attempt at a turnaround, like just people's buying habits had fundamentally changed.
It was like
Like people like
a
yeah.
slack
Sorry, go
tide.
ahead.
The tide comes
Yeah,
in, the tide goes up. In between those movements, there's like 2 hours where it just kind of sits there. And I think the Sears catalog was in that slack tide where people had not quite adopted the internet yet, and they had not
exactly.
quite neglected the brick and mortar. And so I think he just cut the cord on that too quickly.
He did. Yeah, I wonder, like, he really should have like looked towards the internet. I think everybody basically back then, all the corporate executives, they couldn't really see what
No,
the internet was going to
they're too
be.
old.
It was almost impossible. It was a
Yeah.
world-changing thing. And the websites were kind of clunky,
Hmm.
dial-up people, and there wasn't a mass adoption really at the time of internet usage. So it's hard to tell. But there, of course, there was a sort of a whirlwind of factors. Retail changing. You had big box stores, the death of big box
Yeah.
retail, and all of this was happening. You know, so Sears was in decline for 2 decades before Lampert took over.
Yep.
And then, of course, he's like constantly blamed for the decline of Sears. Now, he obviously, to me, was doing a slow liquidation. Like
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit it. And it's not pretty, right? But there's a philosophy behind it that will allow Sears to survive for another 100 years.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my own theory, and it's that if you compare it to J.C. Penney, so basically over that time of the death of big box retail, all the way up to till today, Macy's, Nordstrom,
Yep.
J.C. Penney, all the big box stores, they all hemorrhaged employees, like tens of thousands of employees. But you don't ever hear of Lampert and Sears. And also, J.C. Penney went into a bankruptcy, and by the way, it was taken over by Bill Ackman, who
Mm.
only hired overpaid executives who completely changed the corporate message of J.C. Penney and alienated all their customers.
Oh yeah.
Drove it into chapter 11,
So
or maybe even
the J.C.
yeah.
Penney was best friends with my grandfather, and
No way.
yeah, and it's like
That's
I never
amazing.
got to meet him or anything. He was dead before I was ever born. But like was a big family. Like what we were loyal to J.C. Penney because it was like almost a family connection, right? My mom
Yeah.
had her J.C. Penney's card for 40 years or something, and she paid her credit card bill one day and then started getting harassed. This is right about the time Ackman, I think, took over, and
Right.
started getting harassed for that. She like missed a payment. She's like, no, on my my bank statement it says it was cash. What's going on? Why are you harassing me? And they kept calling and calling and calling and calling. And she finally just like went to her savings, paid off the entire card, and cursed them forever. She's like, I'll never go into a JC Penney's again. And they're like, shortly after that is when they went into bankruptcy. So
Well, there you go. That's amazing.
yeah.
There's an interesting parallel there in that Sears actually was so favorable to their customers when they lent to them. And by the way, Sears invented and patented the store credit card.
Yeah.
They were over lending to their customers. There was a huge scandal. They lost billions because they were just letting people away with just endless loans to their store credit cards and
Yeah.
everything on layaway. That was
Yeah.
another mismanagement issue. I mean, if somebody really got in there and was able to tighten up the ship, I mean, they would have saved like tens of billions.
Oh,
Like it's just such a huge company,
their credit
you
card
know.
system was rad. Like I remember my sister built a deck and she used her Sears credit card to do all the purchasing for the lumber and everything, and she got enough points out of it. She was able to get new appliances for her entire kitchen.
Wow.
Like,
Oh my God.
yeah,
Is this the Shop Your Way credit card now? Because there's a weird thing, like Lampert kept this credit card. It's like a
yeah,
Shop Your Way City credit card. It makes about 375 million a year to this day.
hmm,
But it's like it's the best point system of any credit card out there. It's
yeah,
really bizarre, but it's the same method, right? It's like you can get like entire, you can get a bloody washing machine after buying some other stuff, but the washing machine is just there from the points. It's like
yeah,
the point system is so good. Yeah, like a lot of people have these very fond memories of
yeah,
Sears. That's what I like, kind of, having dug so much into Sears. You
yeah.
hear great stories from people, how much they like the Craftsman brand and all that kind of thing. And
Oh, can I jump in one sec?
yeah, of
Sorry,
course.
this is a technical thing. I think you've got your notifications on. It's making really loud like bling bling noises
Oh,
through your
really?
end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm not really sure.
I was like, I was
I,
worried it was
uh,
me, but I don't have any notifications on. It's never made those sounds before. So yeah, so I
oh
think
dear, is it
when
still going?
when I think when you get like a text or a message or something, it's making like bling 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 noises.
No, I'm not hearing
Oh,
anything. I'm
weird.
getting unable to access camera from the Zoom, but I don't really want to go on camera, so I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
guess
Okay, well then I don't
it's
know
kind
where
of
those
strange
noises are
though.
coming from. Uh,
All right,
oh,
will I
well, people,
rejoin
sorry,
maybe?
there's gonna be bling bling noises because we don't know what their source is at all.
Oh dear. Well, we can't continue with bling bling noises.
Yeah, no,
It's
no,
not.
it's all right.
No, no. Is it still going?
No, no, it just pops up like every 15 seconds to a minute or so.
That's
Some
not good.
notification comes in. It's weird. I don't know where it's coming from.
Houston, that is not good. We cannot do this. Okay, hold on. I'm like closing everything but Zoom. Um, I've I'm putting my phone Oh, my phone is already on silent,
Okay.
so I don't know. It
I
might
don't know.
be. Might just be Zoom itself.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never heard these sounds before. But whatever. We'll move on and we'll just go from there. Maybe someone's messaging me in the
No,
telling me
I don't
exactly what's
like it. I
going
don't
on.
like it, Houston. We have a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how about will I? I'm gonna jump off
Oh no,
and
don't
tell
worry
me
about it.
if
Don't
it
worry about it.
continues.
We'll keep going. We'll just deal with it.
No, no, no. Let me jump off just for like 20 seconds or whatever, half a minute, and
Okay.
see if
Okay.
it continues.
All right.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I don't mean to. I don't mean to. Okay, is it all right?
Yeah. I haven't had a
All right.
sound
I'll be
for
back in a
a
sec. You
minute or
keep
so.
people rolling.
Okay.
All right.
So, all right, everybody. He's gonna hop off and come back on, and now I've got my I'll call now face. There we go. That's the avatar he chose to set himself up with. I might as well get some super chats while we're waiting for him to come back. Louis HW, how do I off ramp ETH level 2 from the GME wallet? I tried sending small money to different apps, doesn't work. Do I move it to level 1 and then send it? I don't know enough about that. I thought they'd close the wallet, but I guess people still have stuff in it. But if I would try opening a loop ring wallet that has level 2 and going level 2 to level 2. That's what I would try. Give that a whirl. Because other than that, I don't know. I'm not enough of an expert on those things. Oh, maybe I can. Wait, where's the? Do that. There we go. All right. So, and then, oh, we had another one in here somewhere. We had a couple of them. Okay. We had Punch a Tree meeting with Congress and SEC sounds like what MMTLP. And Punch a Tree. I didn't see what you were finishing your thought there, but yes, hopefully MMTLP's meeting with Congress and SEC and FINRA and everybody else. Seekstar, impact letters, a rule. Thomas, what's up with Medici M1? Well, I'll see him on that one when he comes back on. Oh, he's coming back. There we go. Got to turn on the that bing, and the cat wants to come in too, of course. Here, come on. So sit out there and just yell. Come on, get in. There we go. Okay.
All right.
There we go.
How's it sounding now?
It sounds great. I haven't had a blinky sound since I mentioned it, so I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. There we go.
All right.
Where were we? We were
so where were we? I guess we were talking about all the incredible offers
Yeah.
Sears had.
Well, okay. So my last Sears purchase was from like the store. Because I bought a couple of things during COVID. I bought a refrigerator from them and a dishwasher off the internet. But my last in-store purchase was probably 2016 before they shut down the store near me. And I was moving out of a house, and I needed to like clean the house to make sure that, I get my deposit back. And my vacuum cleaner just gave up the ghost. And I was like, oh shit. I've got like 5 years worth of corners to like suck up and everything. And so I went online just to see if Sears had a vacuum cleaner that was like a screaming deal. And there's this like Kenmore vacuum cleaner that should have been $150, was on sale for like $80. I was like, sweet. I will drive half an hour to the store. I will buy it. I'll race back and I'll be able to vacuum this house before I have to move out tomorrow. And I get to Sears and I get to like their appliance section, and there's the vacuum cleaner, and it says $150, not $80. And the salesperson comes along. She's like, hey, may I help you? I'm like, yes. Online, this vacuum cleaner is $80, but here it's $150. And she's like, oh, that's an online only deal. And I was like, but I wanted to like buy this so you could get a commission and everything, but I'm not going to pay $150 when I get it for $80. She's like, that's just the way it is. And I was like, well, I will select this, pick up in store. I was like, can you take that over there for me so I can pick it up? And I got my vacuum cleaner.
There you go. I mean, look at how. I mean, you can see there like Lampert very much pushed for online.
Mm-hmm.
It was always there, all the signs up. We're online too.
Yeah.
He very much turned it that way. And I think it was because he recognized the data. That's where what all the online businesses kind of
Yeah.
make a lot of their money on was he wanted to create like a member program. Like that was what Shop Your Way was. It was like, like you get great deals on points and stuff, but like you're kind of within this, it's like a loyalty program
Yeah.
more than just any buyer, because people became less sticky.
Hmm.
Like customers became less sticky. Like even before Lampert came along, people wanted more choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like Kenmore anymore. Like they wanted to have Black and Decker on the same shelf.
Yep.
So that's kind of, I guess we were talking about the way things changed and the change of shopping habits. And when Lampert took over, there was like a huge issue with big box stores, like just their locations. People didn't really want to go to them anymore. People were going more to, like, I guess, strips or like kind of smaller outlets,
Yeah.
all kind of stuck together. So that was a real issue. Like the biggest issue was Sears store locations. So he had like all these big boxes with like acres of land surrounding them, and that was really the fallback of the strategy.
Yeah.
So I think at this point it's important to say, so like when he merged them together, like the way he got Sears was interesting too. Like, so I was talking about Arthur Martinez, the great Sears CEO. He wrote in his book that Alan Lacey, the CEO after him, who was in Canada, he had some position in Canada,
Yeah.
maybe CEO, and he he basically was a raider. He was a vulture. He wrote this in his own book. This guy, the older CEO, and so Lacey had done all this stuff. Like he removed the what was it, the control, like the quality control. So under
Hmm.
Hoffman Estates, there was like an entire floor in this massive bit, like complex, where all the quality control was done, and he basically just gutted that entire uh, like section of the business and outsourced the quality control. So all of a sudden, there's all these fires happening, you know,
Yeah.
like and then it's just
I mean,
lawsuits.
same
And
thing. Same thing at Boeing
yeah,
right now. But one of the things that did in 2019 was they fired like every quality control officer at Boeing. And what's happened since then?
oh my god,
Just
yeah,
things turned to
didn't
shit.
the door blew off of one of
Yeah.
the fires. I love this. There was like a post on Wall Street Bets of someone saying, "Is it illegal if I like buy puts on Boeing after the door just blew off in my flight?"
Yeah.
Like, I hope that guy made millions. But yeah, like that's kind of, you see this pattern, right? Of like the corporate raiders. They do all this stuff. They did it to GameStop. It was like they expanded the store footprint, over expanded the store footprint,
Yeah.
and you saw Ryan Cohen, like he pared all that back. He actually completely exited entire markets like Ireland and stuff like that. So a good CEO will kind of like get the company lean again. That
Mhm.
you don't need that much store footprint. A lot of this stuff that you see going on with the short and the sort, like the guys on the inside, they're always pulling these like just terrible decisions. You're like, really, the quality control, like
Yeah.
like it's just amazing. So similar patterns you'll see there, and I guess the report happened for Lampert a little bit after. So after he got Kmart, he was hailed. The media needed a cover story for the price spiking so much. So he was the next Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah.
So that was the deal. And he was like he was a very talented prodigy, very interesting guy. But soon after, it all just went to shit. Like the media just took a cannon of slander and just fired it at the guy for 20 years. So there was never any good stuff about him after that,
Right.
and I believe it was because he had really thrown a spanner in the works of both the short of both Kmart and Sears, right? As Amazon and Walmart are rising, you
Yeah.
you have you have, and in the same breath, in all these articles, you'll see, Sears and Kmart like denigrated, and in the same breath, Amazon and Walmart like are elevated. So
Yeah.
you see there the long and the short of these hedge funds, right there. It's
Yep.
like they all have their money in Amazon, they all have their money in Walmart, because they're the chosen winners of the retail landscape that was completely shaped by Wall Street. So that's really what's amazing about it. And Lampert also then he pulled this incredible move to buy Sears. There was Lacey was there, he ruining Sears from the inside, and then there's Lampert basically sold to Lacey about 24 Kmart stores at a very high premium.
Yeah.
And Lacey bought them thinking, oh, this will be kind of something to say, is eating Lampert's lunch or whatever. But what that did was it caused the 1,000 or more Kmart stores that Lampert owned to be reevaluated at this higher price. So on top of the squeeze of his stock from the Lampert premium, mix of the Lampert premium and the shorts closing, you had this high evaluation of suddenly of all the entire store, all these stores. Yeah. So and Lampert then took this high valuation and then just bought out Sears, and then he put them together. He made Sears Holdings, and Sears was shorted ever since. That's the story, but what Lampert did during this time was very, very interesting because Lampert was a student of Warren Buffett. I mean, not that he was literally a student, but he studied this man. He greatly admires this man. He flew out to ask Buffett questions. He reversed engineered all Buffett's greatest moves, his like Geico, all this kind of stuff. So he was Lampert, I believe he wanted his own Berkshire Hathaway. And he saw in Sears and Kmart two dying retailers, the same way that Buffett saw Berkshire Hathaway, these two dying textile mills. Now I'm gonna read something interesting to you from an investment advisory report. It says Berkshire Hathaway is the world's most valuable single share of stock. Buffett is widely regarded as the world's best investor. However, we are certain you know nothing or almost nothing about a man who is deliberately following in Buffett's footsteps. He is, like Buffett, one of the greatest investors of his generation, and like Buffett, he has gained control of a giant, failing business with a huge reserve of hidden assets. He is slowly transforming these wasted assets into a massive reinsurance firm. He is following Buffett's precise playbook, and so far, almost no one knows it. Rather than continuing to invest in the company's profits into textiles, right? This is sort of what this is Buffett's story. It says, rather than continuing to invest the company's profits into textiles, Buffett moved the company into insurance, buying National Indemnity in 1967. And as insurance began to add, quote, float to the company's balance sheet, Buffett began investing in many different industries, always, however, preferring long-term investments in the highest quality franchises at rock-bottom prices. Still, Buffett held on to the textile business, even though he clearly knew the economics of the textile industry was bleak. He stuck with the legacy businesses for 20 years. Buffett calls this decision his biggest investment mistake. And here's a quote from Buffett. I committed a major amount of money into a terrible business. Berkshire Hathaway was carrying this anchor of all these textile assets. For 20 years, I fought the textile business before I gave up. If instead of pouring that money into the textile business, we had just invested in the insurance company, Berkshire would be worth about twice as much as it is now. This is 200 billion we lost because I thought I could run a textile business. It was a terrible mistake. So, do you think Lampert would be making the same mistake as Buffett?
Yeah, that's
the angle.
That's the old adage, a smart person learns from their mistakes, a wise person learns from the mistakes of others.
Exactly. Now, I believe initially Lampert did try to maybe not turn Sears around, but continue running it as a profitable business.
Yeah.
But this is 2 years after he bought Sears, it was the great financial crisis. We had the big box coming off the big box, like the end of big box retail, the retail apocalypse.
Yeah.
And then you have Sears. That was when the shorting went insane. So this is now, I want you to, if you could, I sent you an email. just play like a minute clip from one of Kramer's sort of talks that he didn't really think the world would get would see.
Where is
I have
it?
just I'll tell you now. So in the email, it's the second YouTube link called Kramer on Sears
Oh, there it
Potential.
is. Okay. So let me get
Yeah.
this here.
So this is in 2012.
This
Okay.
is the Vanish holster right here.
Sorry, it's gonna
Is
do this
arguably the
stupid
world's most
commercial.
comfortable holster.
And
First thing you need to
then
know
Oh,
about
no.
it, you don't need a belt with a Vanish
Oops.
holster. This
skip that. Pause that.
You need to
and
get
then
an
I
ad blocker, Houston.
Oh no. Okay.
Just for the quality of the show, you know.
That would make too much sense.
No, the show is quality.
I gotta click on this one. There we go. Okay. So I gotta turn your face off here because your face is now in the way.
I have a beautiful face. Right.
There we go. Okay. All right. Kramer.
Driving Sears.
Okay.
The other part is the government has gotten very wise, the new government, new SEC, to the fact that they've looked at the trading volume. They've looked at the trading volume versus float in Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and realized it's just inconceivable that that many shares were trading that weren't naked short. Okay. In other
Gotcha.
words, if there's 10 million shares outstanding and 20 million are trading every day, it's inconceivable. That's
So
just
Sears is a victim of this.
Sears probably the number
trading.
one victim. Eddie Lampert who's the CEO, and he's a friend of mine. He's the chairman. He has said over and over to me that this is just a huge, huge problem for Sears. That it's a $5 billion company that has like $30 billion worth of stock out there because of the naked shorts. So if the government were to get serious about naked shorting, this one would be the rocket.
Well, and
It'd be the rocket.
We saw that the New York Stock Exchange said they're developing a modern application for the uptick rule, and so we know that the SEC is
Right,
as you
although
said,
I
has
haven't
talked
done the
a little
work
bit
yet.
about that.
But I haven't
So
done the work yet on that
looks like we're
modifies.
starting to get some.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust the New York
efforts
Stock
here.
Exchange on this. And the reason why I wouldn't is because the modified uptick, it cuts down on trading. So we have to be careful with the unbiased.
Yeah, what Kramer's saying is like Sears is going to be the actual rocket ship if that is what's going to happen, right?
Well, yes. I mean, he literally said that Sears is the number one victim of naked short selling. And he says that the total outstanding shares are naked short 5 times over.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is what Lampert was dealing with then at the bottom of the crash. There were 5 times more shares in the entire company's float out there, and he was getting hammered.
Yeah.
Right. And this is like, so what would you do? What would you do if you know you've got this Titanic of a company merged with another failing company?
Mm-hmm.
You've got all of Wall Street against you, every media outlet trashing you. You go to Plan B.
Yeah.
And maybe it was always Plan A. I think it was probably Plan A the entire time of building his own Berkshire, but obviously it would be handy to have a functioning, profitable company while you were doing that, right, in secret. So that's when I think Lampert started. He kind of went all in, and that was when the stores began to liquidate, every single one at a profit. He had a reinsurance company that was tax-free, bankruptcy remote, owned by the shareholders in Bermuda, located in Bermuda. He monetized the brands. So he basically made it in such a way that all the royalties from every Craftsman, Kenmore, or Die Hard product sold went straight to Sears Reinsurance in Bermuda. So he's building up this float, just like Warren Buffett. He then so then you'd see like these IP sales, like Craftsman, this like shared IP sale. I spoke to a guy who was in the business of IP sales. He said, well, the Craftsman IP sale revolutionized the industry. Like people were just like their minds were blown by what Lampert did. It was like you're selling Craftsman, but you're not.
Yeah.
You know, you retain the rights to sell it yourself. And everyone's like, well, Sears is dying, you know, they're not a threat.
Exactly.
But what if Sears comes back?
Yeah.
you know, you know. So all of this royalties going in, and then he expanded the sort of footprint of the brands by going to Amazon. Amazon's like, Bezos is like, I gotcha. You
Yep.
know, he's like, sure, you can sell on Amazon. You know, Lowe's and Kohl's or whatever. You know, they're all like, yeah, sure. But Lampert was just raking in these royalties.
Yep.
Um,
My new dryer is
yeah.
a Kenmore dryer, but it's actually a Maytag. Just has Kenmore on it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's all this kind of interesting stuff going on, but there's also interesting stuff going on with the real estate. So so in the bankruptcy now, I remember you were talking to me, or remember, no, you were just talking on your show, but I felt it was personal, parasocial relationship.
Yeah.
No, it was. You were talking about like, Lampert, he took all the assets, right? And that's totally understandable to believe. But what really happened in the bankruptcy was only a small percentage of Sears was bankrupt, Sears Holdings. And if you have all these other assets that are not bankrupt and are in fact profitable, you can go 3 months into the bankruptcy, you can go to the judge and say, I have all these other assets that are doing incredibly well. I'm going to take them out of the bankruptcy, right? And so he and the judge let him do that.
Mm-hmm.
So he put them in Transform Hold, which is, so you have two subsidiaries of ESL, Elias Lampert Investments, or Edward S. Lampert, Sears Holdings, and Transform Co. Now, Transform is literally called Transform Hold Co.
Yeah.
And there's something, Lampert says about the difference. He always talks about, he wrote it in his blog, Ed Lampert's blog, turnarounds and transformations. And he talks about the difference. I actually want to read it. Sorry, if you can give me a second.
Get in there.
So basically, but I'll just tell you that those assets are owned by the shareholders. In the asset purchase agreement, and in the sales section, the sales agreement section, it says that we have to receive, as shareholders, we have to receive stock of the entity, the acquiring entity, which is Transform. So, just to tell you, we own those assets on a pro rata basis.
Okay.
And the pension, the only debt that we had to pay was the pension, and 800 million for the second lien bondholders, and basically the pension doesn't have to be paid, because when pensions are related to interest rates, and when interest rates go up, your pension liability goes down. Basically, you have a surplus of money to pay the pension. So we don't have to even pay the pension. I mean, those are considered paid off. That's what I mean. They're considered overpaid legally, and so all that's left actually is the secondly bondholders.
Yeah.
And there's I can name you the number of a document in the bankruptcy that shows, right. So not only in the bankruptcy transcript between the lawyer and the Sears lawyer and the judge, those assets that were sent to Transform that were unencumbered, had no liens or debt, were valued at, they say, over 3.9 billion, I believe it was 3.9 or 3.7, and actually in the document, in one of the documents later on in the bankruptcy, it shows that those assets were actually worth between 10 to 12 billion. So we have 10 to 12 billion of unencumbered assets, right, with no debt.
Yep.
And they are securing the bondholders' payout, right, the second lien bondholders of 800 million, which leaves 9.3 billion between a total share outstanding of around 100 million,
mm-hmm.
right, 107.
Yep.
And if you divide 9.3 billion by 107, or around 100 million, you get around $100 a share.
Yeah.
So that's our payout. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, you can have shares plus a special dividend that would just wipe out the shorts on the payment in lieu, right? So you sell all this real estate, you do all this stuff, and you do a $90 or $100 special dividend for each share, then they're just screwed. Like,
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kill shot.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kill shot. Like, this is why I think Lampert, like, he actually gave the shorts the rope to hang themselves.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he said, all right, you go ahead, you short the ever-living crap out of my company. I'll be over here, you know, redeveloping the real estate in a private company that you can't touch, that you actually don't know what my operations are.
Yeah.
You know, he had to go underground.
Yeah.
That's why this, you know, the Stansbury's investment advisory saying that how a new Sears or a new Berkshire Hathaway is being born in secret. And you can just Google that, you know, that full phrase, and find this article, and it's amazing because they say it's being born in secret, but it's funny because, you know, nobody really asked why it was why Lampert's building it in secret. It's because he was targeted so much.
Yeah.
You know, like he had to basically, because everything he touched was shorted, like Sears hometown, right?
Yeah.
Even Seritage, right? Which is, you know, 1/3 to a half of Sears' like best real estate assets that are being redeveloped by an amazing New York real estate dynasty called Olshan. You know, they're being redeveloped, but even that company is public and it's being targeted. And Warren Buffett is invested in it, and also has given them like a very favorable $2 billion loan that they're very close to paying off. And interestingly enough, in the bankruptcy, there is almost like a trigger, what it looks like to me, which is there is a unsecured creditors committee that are suing Lampert within the bankruptcy for because he spun out Land's End and Seritage, which I believe is called like Sears Heritage. That's what I think it stands for. Yeah. But it's funny because it was equitable spin-offs. Like they got equity in those spin-offs, right? But the thing is, I think Lampert will emerge from bankruptcy, right? Like at likely over $100 a share,
yeah,
right? Which is just going to eviscerate everyone, everyone who shorted it on the way down. I mean, that's going to be a domino bankruptcy for a lot of these fools, you know, kicking what they thought was a dead horse, and but I think he's going to reacquire Seritage. This is called the Humpty Dumpty thesis among Sears people. Seritage and Land's End return to Sears, and that immediately ends the lawsuit, and immediately sort of winds up the bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a very interesting deal. And then what happened? Just to speak about like this investment advisory, you know, they did an analysis on Sears Holdings. They said it was the most complex corporate structure they'd ever seen. They said, you take a shot at it. We tried, you know. They say that in Sears Reinsurance, Lampert had amassed $35 billion in assets in 2013.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So picture that 10 years later, since all the
exactly.
branding deals and
the biggest real estate boom in history, which he sold into.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's a prodigy at capital allocation,
yeah,
right, and mergers and acquisitions. So I would say that's at least doubled. I mean, this is just, you know, I don't know, like who knows what the hell's in there.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, Steve Mnuchin, when he was part of Trump's, when he was part of Trump's when he was his Treasury Secretary,
yep,
he passed a law which allowed for a one-time, very low tax repatriation of offshore assets. Like, you know, if you say you have maybe $70 billion in Bermuda.
I mean, that's what Apple used to do their giant stock buyback when ICANN like did his play in Apple. He's like, hey, why don't you guys do a giant stock buyback and jack the stock price? And they're like, okay, we'll send $100 billion from Ireland to the US and we'll do that.
So, no way. They use that. They use that law.
Yeah.
There you go. That really says a lot, doesn't it? Like that this is kind of facilitating, I guess it's good for the country in a way, just like because it's just what is it, trillions and trillions of offshore assets.
Oh, there's
But
32 to 40
yeah,
trillion dollars offshored from the wealthiest people in the U.S. Yeah, it's
yeah, there you go.
a lot. Like if you look at somebody, we know Warren Buffett's net worth, we know Jeff Bezos's net worth, we know Elon Musk, because we can see how much they have in holdings from reportings, right? But there are people who probably are worth as much or more than them, whose money is in Cyprus and the Cayman Islands and the Bahamas and Belize, and you just don't know what their holdings are because they never have to report to anybody, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, it's wild, but I'm happy for this law. I don't know. I feel like it's going to benefit us greatly as Sears shareholders. I wanted to say just about the turnarounds and transformations. Like, so this is something on Eddie Lampert's blog. It's very short, but he says it's titled "Turnarounds and Transformations." And think about Arthur Martinez, who very valiantly tried to turn around Sears twice and did a very good job, but also the entire colossal entity just swallowed them whole and returned to its downfall. Its steady decline merely a year or two or three after. So Lampert says turnarounds happen when a company succeeds again at doing what it had once done successfully before. Government policies and regulations or macro trends to serve their customers in new ways. So there's his thinking here, and he spoke about it in one of his last shareholder meetings, where interestingly he also said that we have all the customers we need.
Yeah,
and that kind of tells you a lot about what Sears is today. I'd like to also kind of show you a bit more what Sears is today, because Lampert has been spent all his time, slimming it down, turning it into a lean technology company that is also that also has gotten into data centers and data infrastructure as a service. So, interestingly, if you could go to the email, there's a video here about like where Lampert talks about his Sears tweet.
Okay.
If you could play that real quick.
To Sears Tower liquidity. About where in the email is it here?
So it's the first link in the email.
Oh, is the Ryan Cohen
potential
one?
Sears.
It says Ryan Cohen
on Sears potential.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see.
All right. Let me bring this back up again. Boom. Okay, here we go.
So June 3rd, 2021, Sears being torn down. What's up with that?
That could be GameStop. That could be GameStop.
That's why you shared it with the skull emoji.
I think there's a lot of similarity. There's a lot of potential similarities.
Can't
Sorry.
stop, won't stop, and you're sitting on the toilet.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that could be GameStop.
Yeah.
I see a lot of potential similarities. I find that very interesting turn of phrase. I think it mirrors Kramer talking about Sears potential, which basically lays out the naked shorts on Sears.
Yep.
He posts a skull. So we've seen like Lampert wearing a skull T-shirt from Saks Fifth Avenue, or sorry, Lampert RC, wearing a skull T-shirt from Saks Fifth Avenue in a restaurant. Princeton, I believe, wears a skull. There's a lot of sort of skull imagery around this kind of thing, and I wonder if it references Skull and Bones or Skull and Bones is an allusion to Sears in some way.
Well, Saks is owned by 6th Street, so
really,
yeah.
That's crazy.
That was one of the things.
Oh my God.
That lawsuit that got dropped because Saks was suing Bed Bath for some sort of IP theft, and now that 6th Street's behind the dip facility, just magically the lawsuit just disappeared. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I really think 6th Street are they are the controlling entity. You can't do the type of reorganization Bed Bath is going under. I spoke with Jake. I did like a space with them, and we believe that Bed Bath is a 368A1D reorganization, where to undergo it, yeah, like I've already spoken about this, that you have to give shares to old shareholders.
Yeah.
You have to give new shares to old shareholders, and also to transfer the nulls. I mean, Deloitte have literally been billed for a null transfer. So they can't have the nulls unless they bring us along.
Did you see
And
that
also, yeah,
that FT article that came out, was it 2 weeks ago, about Knowles being the new SPAC? So
no,
yeah, it's pretty cool article. So the journalist was writing about Wish.com, and Wish.com, during COVID, they did their IPO. They're worth $18 billion. And today, they're floundering, and some hedge fund from Singapore has picked them up for like $170 million, but they have like a couple $1 billion in Knowles, and they're using it as a reverse SPAC so that rather than doing an IPO, some new company can come in and just not pay taxes for a decade. And then they talked about Washington Mutual, which was the largest savings and loan to ever fail in the world. And they failed in 2008, which is a big deal because I had like friends that worked at the corporate offices here in Seattle. And I penny traded the stock. I traded, went from 1 cent to 2 cents just on the pink sheets for years. And I would just bounce it
No
back
way.
and forth and make money. And then I
you
finally
should have
sold
kept
everything.
those.
Well, there was a court ruling that was like, oh, shareholders might get some equity, and the stock went from 1 cent to 50 cents, and I sold that, and then went to Europe for 2 months, and
Oh dear.
and I never thought about it again. Well,
Houston.
yeah, I know. So in 2000, what would that be? Like 2016. So it was almost 8 years after the bank had not existed. Someone used it, bought up for the Knowles, reissued shares to all the shareholders, and the stock price went to like $74.
God damn it.
Yeah. Like, oh,
I hope you enjoyed your trip to Europe.
I did have a nice time in Europe, though. Yeah. I went to Tunisia.
Where did you go?
Yeah. I went all over.
Where did you go? Oh, nice.
France, Norway, Iceland, Tunisia.
Lovely.
Yeah. It was
France
a good trip.
France is gorgeous
Yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in the shoulder month, even October. It's
That
nice,
was one of theirs, October. Yeah.
perfect time. Hey, we're gonna go overlanding.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna get a nice truck, and we're gonna travel Europe. But that Washington, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like just to talk about Sears nulls, like there's 6 billion in nulls in Sears.
Yeah.
So again, Lampert says the entrance strategy is more important than the exit strategy. So what does that tell you? He was building up the nulls,
Yeah.
as well as a massive short, like allowing a massive naked short position on his stock, which is inherently valuable. I remember just the time I realized what he was doing. I was like, oh shit, he actually sees the value in billions of naked shorts. That's the kind of way these guys think, and it's pretty amazing. But just to go on about the skull, the skull is a memento mori. So RC posted the skull on the Sears tweet, and by the way, that Sears photo was from an article about an old Sears store being redeveloped into an innovation hub. And
Yep.
there's I think there's 2 or 3 around the country. There's one in Texas. This one was in Florida, in Tampa. So I think he's alluding to like the innovation that's going on at Sears, that the redevelopment of the real estate.
Yeah.
And in several of these cases, I believe Sears is coming in as the redeveloper. So as the owner, I don't think I don't think Lampert is truly divesting himself of a lot of these, in a lot of these redevelopment deals. I think he's holding on to them because Transform and Seritage themselves, which hold like the majority of Sears real estate, are both their purpose is to also redevelop the real estate. So I believe he's kind of, as the judge said, it's left pocket, right pocket for Lampert. He's not fully divesting.
He's going from one shell company to the other, but it's all under the same umbrella.
Exactly. And you do that when you're getting targeted. You need to hide all this stuff so that you're not, so that the shorts who went as far as to kidnap you are not going to like I guess meddle with your development, because a lot of Sears and Kmart stores were set on fire it's like they're plagued with arson. I remember seeing YouTube videos of people walking around in Sears, like very suspiciously talking about how easy the merchandise will burn.
Yeah.
I saw another video of a fellow walking into a Kmart where half the building was turned into like sort of a games place where you could, like bowling, you could do VR
Yeah.
of old Atari games and stuff like this. And he was speaking in code, about where the fire alarms were and where to enter the building through the fence, and where the security guard walks. So there's absolutely a very concerted and almost like mobster like campaign happening against Sears, and I believe Bed Bath also, or anyone that's really targeted by these crooks. So it's really amazing. But to say back onto the skull, Memento Mori is also the motto of the Skull and Bones, and they're as you well know, I guess their housing on the campus is looks like a mausoleum, and it's filled with skull. I guess how would you say? It's filled with skulls and bones.
It's
and
like
all that
macabre.
stuff, right?
It's a
Yes, very
yeah,
macabre.
yeah.
Yeah. So then you have this is what I think. So the Memento letter in 2017, right? So this is a year before Sears goes into bankruptcy. A Swiss family office named Memento, holding 2 million Sears shares, hires Olshan and Wolowski to represent them to write a letter to the Sears board with charts and all, proving excessive naked shorting. And this is in the email, but I'll just read a section, one or two sections of what they say. There have been several occasions over the past 2 years in which the market has indicated that more short positions exist in the market than SHLD shares or Sears shares available to borrow, as shown by the unusually high volume of short selling activity relative to the company's real available float of outstanding shares. And they speak about naked shorting in this letter several times. We have learned through our own experience in lending Sears shares that several institutions brokers were unable to timely locate shares when we recalled them. It took 10 or more days for us to receive our lent out shares back. We recalled about 1 million shares twice this year with various institutions and brokers in order to transfer the shares to another. In both cases, our brokers failed to deliver, and the Sears shares price soared between 30 to 100% after our recall.
That's just 1 million.
We observed that. Yeah, right, just 1 million. We observed that Sears inventories for borrowing stocks were massively below what was reported to the SEC. And Market informed, some company called MARKIT, informed us that the double counting of some stocks could cause them to be lent over several times.
Yep.
This is alarming and demonstrates that the same shares may be sold short more than once.
That's when I did my interview on the Gist, my first podcast interview. That's what I was talking about. It's like when it comes time for these computers to have to close these positions, right? You're going to have a pension fund that owns GameStop or whatever, right? And they lent it out because they're making a little money off of that. And then they went out and they bought more, but they bought the shares that had already been shorted that they just lent out, and they added to their pile, and then they lent those out, and then they went and bought them again. So like you're going to be returning the same share to like the same pension fund or index fund or sovereign wealth fund 5-6 times over, and then they're going to get to name the price because they're going to sell it and you're just going to hand it right back to them, right? So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be absolutely chaos.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I can't even imagine how much this spring is just tight, like just ready. It really is a rocket. I mean, like that's the only way to describe it. It's kerosene. It's like the largest amount of TNT you could ever imagine. It's a nuclear bomb just waiting, sitting there. And like how fast did they make the export market? How fast? And how soon after Edwin Barnes or Crean's great DD on the basket stocks? It was a matter of days.
Yeah.
It was a matter of days. It was within a week.
Yeah.
Gensler has
was
never
all talking
acted
about
that
zombies,
fast.
and all of a sudden they're like, we're going to put everything on this export market, and none of you are going to be able to play with it again.
Yeah. Oh, and the title of expert is so insulting, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I call it the expert fuck up market for
Yeah.
the expert protection racket, for fraud, the fucking Wall Street
If
fuck
I
ups.
were like an accredited investor with a good chunk of cash, I would create sort of a side play where I would go into the expert market and just buy everything. just buy everything available, and that would be, it could be a hedge fund or whatever that's doing it, because you take it to other investors and just sort of like set it and forget it. Just leave it off to the side. If you bought up everything, and as you're buying up some of this stuff because it's been seller box, it's at a thousandth of a penny or whatever, and you can just buy up 1 billion shares because it'll cost you $10,000 and just forget about it and let it sit off to the side. So like I wonder if there are people hedging that are part of all this. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should because it's going to cost us a few pennies to do this because the retail can't get involved, and then just wait, right?
Dude, like the smartest move would be as an institutional investor, would be to just break open the expert market and just buy everything you can.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you would be the next billionaire out of nowhere. You'd be up there, with Bezos.
Yeah.
Just like,
And it'd be
how did
pure
you get
cash
here?
in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Like, interestingly enough, a friend of mine who's an institutional investor went in to try and get some Sears shares, and he was, first of all, he said the call was so bizarre because the person was like, "Really, Sears?" What? And he's like, "Well, yes, it's a great company. It's a valuable company." And the guy was like, "All right, well, let me check." And then it was, he said there hasn't been a trade for months, even in the expert market. So even behind the curtain,
Yeah.
the illiquidity is unbelievable. So I think all the experts have had their fill.
Well,
back
like
there.
I do wonder, can Citadel short into the expert market and just be like, "Here's some shares," or do they have the balls to?
I mean, I don't know if the expert, like, to me, like, it's like OTC times 10 in terms of just fraudulent activity behind the scenes. Well, I don't know, but I suspect the expert market was just a playground for them to kind of clean up their act.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it past Citadel to also be shorting and rehypothecating within the expert market too.
Yeah.
I hope your shares are DRS, by the way.
Well, my Sears shares are not. They're stuck in Schwab.
Man,
yeah.
Was Schwab not allowed?
I just never attempted. I just like, well, they're sitting there and they're just staring at me. But
yeah.
I was reading.
Well, they might be. They're probably an M3. I mean, they're,
Well, I was reading the other day,
there,
and it was about a guy who had something like 140,000 shares that he had shorted in Lehman Brothers. And Goldman Sachs won't let him off the hook. They won't declare that it's dead and gone, and he can't realize his gains. And he's been stuck for 14 years or something on this short.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just been sitting there just waiting, and they won't let him off the hook because the stock price keeps going bonkers again. And so there's still too much implied volatility because this company that's not existed since 2008, I guess 16 years now, keeps shooting up to 25 cents and back down to a penny and shooting back up again. And so he's been sitting there. He can't realize his gains. He can't do anything with the money. He's just stuck because they still think he's got too much liability.
Wow. They went, the Lehman stock went up at 1,000, just over 1,000% or something the other day.
Yeah.
And I remember talking with people about Lehman and stuff. And, these banks, these quote unquote dead banks, all of that crime and stuff was just shoved under the carpet somewhere, back in 2008.
Yeah. I mean, there are mortgage-backed securities from Washington Mutual and Lehman Brothers that still trade in the derivatives market.
It's amazing.
Some of these 30-year mortgages, they're halfway through them and they don't know what the properties are. They don't know any of the details inside, but it's still a derivative that trades on the market, and the liabilities are still there. And no one's done anything about it. The companies don't exist anymore. So where's the money going?
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. I have no idea. Thankfully, they won't be able to do that to us because we have valuable companies that have retained their QSIP. And the QSIP to me is like it's like I guess the ledger beneath the ticker. That's the way I see it.
Well,
And
someone just popped in the chat and said the Lehman
Sorry.
estate has already paid all creditors with billions left over for shareholders.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want some of those shares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to become
I
an
went
expert.
and looked the other day. It's on trade notice. Yeah. Well, good luck to all Lehman shareholders. Well done. You know, I heard about, Blockbuster was also a really interesting one because it was the best time to be alive. It was the best time to be Canadian.
Yeah.
All these Canadians were buying up Blockbuster shares like crazy. I mean, Chad Mojo, a great guy.
Yep.
He's loaded up, and power to him. If you're a Canadian, please check it out. not financial advice. But yeah, very interesting stuff there. Do you remember when we saw the Blockbuster was Lego had built a life-size Blockbuster store
Yes.
called Brickbuster?
Yep.
I mean, they're winking at us so hard right now. It's crazy.
I
These
really do
companies.
wonder, like, what is Lego's involvement in all of this? Because they are probably the most sought-after private company that people want to go public so bad. And, they make money hand over fist. They've got not just, like, the toy IP, but they got the amusement parks like Disney. They've got the movie franchises. They've got, like... They're just like waiting to bust out, but the family that owns it is like, no, we're happy owning it. But they still like their social media is giving lots of nudges and winks and butterflies, and it's very, very a lot of tinfoil in that.
Yeah. I think Cohen's got to them.
Yeah.
I think he's had a conversation. I mean, why would you? That's the thing. It's like, why would you relist? Why would you IPO? Sorry, in a completely rigged market. I mean, that's really the core of this movement is the naked shorting and the rigged system. So it's like, how do you get and we have in T0, we have the answer to that. So I believe Lego is waiting to relist to a blockchain based tokenized share market, right?
Yeah.
With no rehypothecation.
If I were to IPO a legit company, that's exactly where I'd want to be. I would not want to at all be in the fast system.
No way.
Yeah.
God, no. We're all trying to leave it.
Yeah.
And it's because they've made it very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the interesting things about how Lampert managed the Sears shares, and it's as well, of course, he holds right under 50% of the stock, where you're allowed to use 100% of the nulls, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go over 50%, it's like 80, and then slowly like less and less. But so he has all these shares. So it's like he's obviously not going to wipe himself out, okay, as the largest shareholder in the company. I mean, I remember Bruno was tweeting away, and he was saying, "Oh, like Bed Bath." He goes, "Bed Bath, like Sears, where everyone's waiting for a white hat." It's like, I'm sorry. First of all, it's in black and white that we get a payout, like in four different ways. I proved it in my space there the other day. Just reading the documents, it's very simple. Yeah. It's a 368 A1G reorganization where the asset purchase agreement is the reorganization. This is what everybody missed.
Yeah.
If you do a type of 368 reorganization, it's not the liquidation plan. It's not the second reorganization plan. The asset purchase agreement is the reorganization plan, and it says we get paid. And you cannot do that. You cannot even do that type of reorganization without paying out shareholders, similar to the type of reorganization Bed Bath is doing. But we don't have to wait for a white hat. Not only is it all there in black and white, our largest shareholder is the owner of the company.
Yeah.
It's just like that's what you want.
It's like a Bed Bath. Like why would Hudson Bay and oh crap, my brain's already farting on the other one. Duh.
6th Street.
That's 6th Street. The other one that bought shares.
Is it B. Riley or
Hudson Bay and whatever? Well, but why, knowing this company is heading straight into bankruptcy, would they, purchase 10% of the company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a massive mistake. I mean, these people don't make mistakes very often.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you know what? I really like losing $500 million. That's my favorite thing in the world. Just watching it just poof into.
You wouldn't last long as 6th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy the way sometimes the kind of narratives you hear. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, like the shilling has been so intense. I mean, there's still a handful of shills that show up on the Sears stock twits, just
Yeah.
like it's never happening. It's like clockwork, and
Yep.
you're just like,
You
why are
can
you
you
even
can
here?
you can tell when somebody sent a check to a troll farm because they will spike. Like in my own subreddit, all of a sudden one day there'll be 50 of them showing up, being relentless, and I should make a list of my banned users and just post it so people know who to avoid. But like they all say the exact same thing. They all have the same pattern. Like uh, with Bed Bath and Beyond, their favorite thing to do is first to tell you you're wrong and like whatever, eat shit. But then they'll be like, I will bet you, I'll give you 10 to 1 odds, and I'll bet you $10,000, and we can put into escrow that you're never getting equity. And I'd be like, well, I already made my bet, ding dong. Like, why are you using the exact same words as these 50 other guys in the exact same thread, all saying the same thing? When we point that out to them, they just go, oh shit. Like, like you're reading
I
the
mean, it's
same little
amazing.
like
Yeah,
laminated card at your Filipino troll farm. And
I always said it's like I used to say to them, I was like, you're reading off the same hymn sheet. You're
yeah,
all just, you know, it's not even your opinion. It's just
yep,
a paid. It's like, yeah, you're staring at a piece of paper. It's like, say it's canceled. Say you'll get nothing.
yeah,
Say it's a wipeout. Say it's worthless. And it's just this brain dead, repetitive parroting over and over. And you know, and it's funny because like sort of dealt with that. Me and a lot of the Sears people over on Reddit, on the old Sears subreddit that turned out to be run by a likely a sort of a plant, you know, because
mm,
they create the subreddits and then they sort of wait like sleeper cells,
yeah,
you know, and then they activate when like they tried to do it kind of with Teddy and all this stuff, and you know, and they sort of because they want to control the narrative. I mean, on the or/Sears still pinned to this day. It's been pinned for like years. Is like a thread that says people who want to talk about the stock just get out of here. Like it's amazing how negative they are. And meanwhile, the people who have the stock, I mean, they're looking into the company and what it's become, and there's an incredible transformation happening. You know, like the Sears, like I believe Lampert, and I see it happening. It's like one of the Kmart's greatest CEOs was called his second name was Antonini. I think it was Joseph Antonini. He created this thing called the Kmart expansion plan,
mm,
and it was this incredible plan, right, to downsize in a boom, right, in a soaring economy.
yep,
And you sell at high prices, which is exactly what Sears did, by the way. And then in the recession, when all your competitors, it's like the ant and the grasshopper, they didn't
yeah,
prepare for winter. They're
yep,
selling off their stores in the best locations, and then you take those stores, and it's like you breathe. Your company breathes with the economic waves,
yeah,
and you know it's very very smart. It's a smart way to do it because your company's strengthened every recession, you know,
yeah,
and and you get better locations. You get because obviously the demographics change, so you have all this kind of information, and then you go for it. And Sears has more information than anybody, by the way. I mean, they literally have Sears AI, which is like this huge botnet of bots, like building bots and all this kind of
yeah,
stuff. It's absolutely insane. I mean, because had data on people and households and people's buying habits going back to like the 40s and 50s. Like they still have all this kind of data. So and you know, and it's just an incredibly like streamlined you know, like machine that Sears has going. And um you know, so I believe that Lampard is doing that, but in the extreme. You
yeah,
know, he it was just a very radical downsizing. Um you know, and it will be a radical expansion. That's what I believe. You know, they kept the island sort of Sears and Kmart's, and they worked on store remodels. You know, it's kind of like how it seems to be a pattern that these companies will use locations outside of the US to kind of test markets and then
mm,
bring that model back. So that's what you're seeing, like a Sears in I believe there's one in Florida, there's one in Union Gap, Washington. Maybe that's near you,
yep,
but Yeah, they're doing working on the remodel there, and there's a guy like ahead. There's a guy in charge of it and stuff. And he's called the head of retail transformation. So it's like you have all these indicators that the company is doing. It's slowly expanding. And there was a PR uh, article that came out about Sears acquiring an old Sears building in LA County, and it says Transform Co. has entered expansion mode.
Yeah.
So you're kind of seeing this as well. So I just want to put that out there as well, just about, why we're seeing what we're seeing and that kind of thing with Sears. And unfortunately, like when JC Penney went into bankruptcy after Ackman absolutely just ruined it. Like it emerged, but it didn't have, like Sears does, massive, a huge amount of money.
No,
squirreled away
JC Penney's
to transform
problem
itself.
because Ackman is he's a piece of shit. That's what I'll say about
Yeah,
him.
I hate him.
But he's very much a
Scandal.
slash and burn type guy. So he does the short and distort. He will take over a company and he will sell off all their assets and then do leasebacks so that there's like nothing left. So that and then we'll over leverage them. And so basically, he just loaded up JCPenney with a giant amount of debt and just checked out after giving himself and all of his buddies bonuses, and let them just float into bankruptcy. And that's that's what you'd see out of like Bain Capital, these corporate raiders that would do that stuff to KB Toy Hobby or U.S. Steel or whatever it is that they were attacking, and they go, oh, you know what? We don't need to own the building we're in. We'll sell it. Give myself a $20 million bonus, and then we'll lease it back for $1 million a year. And they do that again and again. And it appears that Sears held on to most of their real estate. I mean, seems to be a huge chunk of their holdings.
I mean, Sears, like Lampert, certainly, like he transferred the assets out, but they were always owned by the shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And every entity that he squirreled away in Bermuda is also owned by the shareholders. It's also shielded from the bondholders. I mean, that's how much Lampert is like shareholder focused.
Yeah.
And so, and Sears certainly did like rent back. There were things like that as well. I mean, he's always kind of doing very inventive things.
Yeah.
But he was using it for the benefit of the company. He was always using it with a going forward vision of building his own Berkshire.
Yeah.
Which will, I believe, as a matter of principle, revitalize the Sears retail arm, because it's just a big middle finger to everyone who doubted it. But the thing is, Sears can restart with this just insane foundation, which is like basically a vertically integrated like monstrosity. I mean, it's like,
what
what
do you think the Knoll situation is for Sears?
There's a tax expert called Robert Willens, and he researched this. He said Sears NOLs will survive the bankruptcy, and he has done his analysis and says they are between $5 to $6 billion.
Okay.
So
is that
I don't think
total
anyone
Knolls or the benefit of the Knolls?
So that's the total value of the NOLs.
Okay.
So it's I don't think anyone would want to leave that on the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that gives Sears a lot of starting capital, a lot of, I get in terms of just like tax free going forward energy. I mean, Sears is the old Sears Holdings is essentially a SPAC, right? It's going to be reverse merged into by Transform, and then I believe ESL is going to join the party, and the whole thing together is going to be this huge company that emerges and just wrecks shit. It's just going to wreck everybody who doubted Lampert and Sears and every naked short, everything. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add as well some bit of tinfoil. I'm sorry. I hope we're not going on for too long. I want to be conscious of your time.
Oh, we got like 20 more minutes. We're good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up with something spicy.
Okay.
So I'll say there's so now Lampert is in the Skull and Bones, okay?
Yeah.
But somebody else is in the Skull and Bones. That is Steven Schwartzman, who is the founder of Blackstone.
Okay.
And Blackstone currently owns the Sears Tower.
Hmm.
Now, this is a little bit of my own tin, but Blackstone acquire, redevelop, and sell real estate.
Yep.
And there was a video posted by an architecture kind of channel in January 2023, and it was about the remodeling of Sears Tower by a company called EQ Office, which is a Blackstone subsidiary.
Yep.
And interestingly, in the video calls it Sears Tower.
Yeah.
You know, it says like taking Sears Tower into the 21st century kind of thing. And at 3:29 in the video, you'll see a logo on the wall for a company that works, you know, that has an office in the tower, and it's called ESD Global.
Okay.
And so ESD Global are in the Sears Tower, and there's a post on ESD Global's website from June 2021, and it states that they were hired by
Anyone
Ubiquity
with
Critical
$10,000 or more in
Environments
credit card debt?
to evaluate the feasibility of converting big box retail structure into a data center, a big box retail structure. After initial site assessments, ESD determined that the site qualifies for data center development. The most significant qualifying attribute for the site was the identification of being able to have 31 MW. You're the scientist guy here. Megawatts, I want
Yeah.
delivered to the site. Oh yeah, there you go. For only minimal utility expansion costs. So Ubiquity is continuing to pursue the potential development of the Phoenix site, and has also asked ESD to investigate an additional 15 sites for data center development through North America. So here we have ESD evaluating 16 sites for a company called Ubiquity Critical Environments. Now, Ubiquity Critical Environments was formed by Sears Holdings to develop their real estate into data centers, as told by this article from May 2013. So this is an article from Data Center Knowledge. It says, Sears Holdings has formed a new unit to market space from former Sears and Kmart retail stores as a home for data centers, disaster recovery space, and wireless towers. By the way, a lot of old Sears became injection sites, and kind of they kind of seem to back the government in terms of like disaster relief and stuff like that. With the creation of Ubiquity Critical Environments, Sears hopes to convert the retail icons of the 20th century into the internet infrastructure to power the 21st century digital economy. Could it be that, this is my own questioning, could it be that Lampert has been redeveloping Sears real estate into data centers for over a decade now?
Yeah.
And the sort of connection to Blackstone makes me wonder if the Sears Tower will come back to Sears one day. And, you know, just to add a little bit of tin, I mean, it would be sensational, by the way. I mean, Chicago would lose their minds. Like, imagine it would be sensational. Like the media would lose their shit as well, and it would just add to the gut punch that would of just shorts. It would just be like, oh my god, you know. And there's a great, somebody did this thing on Google Earth for me, and it was showing the view of the Citadel building in Chicago, and the Sears Tower is like just towering over it, like it's in full view, and it's just this beautiful, poetic, you know, because there's the pictures online, you can see it kind of looks like it has this weird face. I don't know if you've ever looked. There's hilarious pictures of the Sears Tower with a face. You can check it out. But you know, it would give you nightmares. But and I'm sure it gave Kenny nightmares. I wonder if that's why he left Chicago. But the interesting thing is that Lampert named his mega yacht the Fountainhead.
Yeah.
And this is after an Ayn Rand novel, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yep.
And the novel is about a visionary who ignored all the critics and talking heads in the world and the media. And he built upon and perfected the architectural wonder based on the blueprints designed by his mentor. And I put in brackets like Buffett, perhaps.
Yeah.
He built a grand skyscraper, you know, and I wonder if this is something that Lampert is kind of poetically aiming for, because you have this redevelopment of Sears Tower into, you know, for a sort of a co-location space for many businesses.
Yeah.
Open up the bottom for the public. It was it was one of the most incredible redevelopments, you know, in history. It's really like, ask anyone in architecture, they'll tell you like it was a huge job and very well done. But yeah, I guess that's just something that's very interesting about it. And I wonder about it. Yeah, like it would be something sensational indeed. But as a final thing, I'd like you to just go to the email that I sent you, if you wouldn't mind, and just right to the bottom where it says Houston shorts have a problem.
Yes.
I've left a little Google. I know you love playing these games. A Google map link to Sears Bermuda.
Okay.
Now, all of the Sears hometown was wound down, but
Yep.
this one remains.
Huh.
And I wonder if you could pull it up on the screen. I don't know.
It's up on the street view here.
Awesome.
Yep. It's just
Awesome.
it's a quaint little building.
Quaint little Sears.
Yeah.
And if you look to the right of that building, that's the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
Okay, this one with the balconies.
Yes, the big, imposing, couple stories high to the right of the Sears building. So that's just something, I think that's a wink from Lampert.
Yeah.
With Sears Reinsurance being located there, potentially, I don't know, 70 billion assets or more waiting to return for a flurry of acquisitions.
Yeah.
For the emergence of what may be the new and improved Berkshire of Sears Holdings. So I guess that's a wrap up for the thing, and I hope. Thank you for listening as well, and I appreciate the chat and everybody.
Can we do a few questions from the chat here? I've got some super chats I've not been able to get to at all. So, and I apologize to those viewers because some of the chat has been cut off. We so many of you are participating. It
always happens.
I know. So let's see here. Oh, I gotta thank SJ reimbursed me for the postage of sending his a Charity Tuesday gift to Australia. So thank you. Seek a Star, Houston, tell Natasha to write her impact letter. Natasha, write your impact letter. If you know what the impact letters are, they're collecting impact letters for Congress about MMTLP and Nextbridge and like how you've been affected by the halt. I don't have the email. Seek a Star sent it to me. What? Sorry, one sec. I can read it off at least. There he is. Okay.
I also bought MMTLP or Torchlight.
Yep.
I remember.
Yep. Wait, is it
long time ago?
Sorry, one sec. I just gotta make sure. Oh, not that. Impact letter. Where are you? This one here. So you can email the impact letter to impactmmtlp@gmail.com. I will put that into the chat so people can see it. impactmmtlp@gmail.com. So you can write about, how the halt affected you, the cancer diagnosis your dad got. Just like make it as sad and hurtful as possible that you've just been like brutalized by FINRA in this. And they're going to try to have them all collected by tomorrow evening. So yes. So thank you, Seek a Star. So Natasha, write yours. Okay, let's see. We have another. Seek a Star is asking when M1 Sears U.S. Virgin Islands. What's that mean? You know?
Well, I have no idea.
Okay, Seek a Star.
Maybe the M1 money supply.
Maybe. I don't know. Okay. And a whole bunch of people got gifted memberships. So thank you.
He
for
might
that.
be saying there is a Sears. There may be a Sears in U.S. Virgin Islands, or like I think there are. Yeah, there are Sears located in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know about M1 though.
Yeah.
please clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'm totally lost. Okay. Sears is licensed to develop diehard products and sell some as well. So sounds like Sears will be allowed if they reemerge to like sell their products in their stores again, and then Home Depot and everyone else who has these deals be like, oh shit.
Yes, that's right. And those royalties from the Home Depot and everyone else are to be given to Sears in perpetuity. So Lampert basically expanded his store footprint in everyone else's stores.
Yeah.
And also allowed himself to sell the brand forever too. You know, it's an amazing. That's why people say that the Craftsman IP sale was a mind blowing thing.
Yeah.
In the industry.
What's your timeline? So I know that the plan administrator or the guy that was in charge of selling the real estate asked for like that 917-day extension. Do you think that holds things up, or do you think that something will jump in and kind of halt his sales of real estate?
Well, I mean no, like Lampert has everything under control. It's really like technically like anything to do with the crawl now has basically nothing to do with us. I mean, we've left the bankruptcy in February of 2019. Like all the assets, all of our interests are in Transform, but Sears is wrapping up a couple small things, but you know, you'll see the odd kind of small claim coming through the crawl, but none of that can ever get in the way of the like emerging from chapter 11. I believe Lampert has his finger on the trigger of when he wants to go.
Yeah.
The extensions to me are just giving a leeway for Lampert to say when he wants to do it, which could happen at any point from now till whatever, you know, extend the final extension date, you know, which could easily just be extended if Lampert needs more time. Or I feel like we're waiting for Bed Bath, we're waiting for GameStop, because we're all going to come out together and just cause absolute mayhem. So,
well, Seekastar says he meant M3 Medici.
I heard M1.
Yeah.
So M3, M3, yes. You mean M3 Partners, who are
they're like the registered agent now or something.
That's right. Our shares left Computershare and went to M3, and M3 are overseeing the Sears Trust. They also oversaw the restructuring for 5 years. So, and the founders of M3, one of the founders is Moshan Meghi, who worked at Sears for years and years and oversaw stuff. So like everyone at M3 is, Moshan was like the president of ESL for 7 years. So, you know, all these people involved in M3. There's another fellow called Kumlani. There's another guy called Rajat Prashek, I believe. These guys in M3 are all loyal, like Lampert loyalists. There is no way that we're getting messed with. I mean, if you're Lampert, you put in all this work, 20 years of this transformation in secret, building a new Berkshire, and you hold half the company in terms of shares. You want to have a clear runway to relisting in terms of cancellation and custodianship of your shares, of your units of what are now an investment trust. So not even Computershare, I believe, was good enough for Lampert. I think he said, you know, there's no way anyone's acquiring anything. M3 are technically a transfer agent as part of the restructuring, so they have the ability to take and redistribute shares to shareholders. So that's why I believe he ring fenced our shares with M3. So it's even more reassuring that they left Computershare to M3. Yeah.
DRS Generic MOS says there's Sears Mexico, Sears Canada, Sears Bermuda, Sears Africa, Sears India, Sears Kuwait, Sears Israel, Sears Australia, Sears Guam, Sears Puerto Rico, and Sears Virgin Islands still.
Hell yeah. Why is there Sears Kuwait? That's what I want to know. You know, that's one of the weirdest ones. And
they want lawnmowers out in the desert.
You can actually go online. It's so bizarre, right? Like, what is this crazy footprint, you know? Probably doing business as, probably is an excuse to do business as. Or like do business out there. Kuwait is one of the largest oil producers in the world, I believe, or something like that. They have a very large oil thing. And, you know, there's Sears Africa, Sears Holdings Africa, which was mentioned. is a diversified commodity brokerage, and it does mines for iron ore and various ores, and also petroleum. So, and has a logistics company there as well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well,
So when you think about it,
diversified.
exactly, and when you think about it, Berkshire, you know, I mean, like, you know, this iron ore could be being refined, being, you know, maybe made into the body of a Kenmore
Yeah.
thing. Like, I mean, I wonder what the hell is going on here.
Yeah, just how
But
vertically
to have
integrated
like
it is.
exactly, that's
Yeah.
the point. You know, like if you have your own oil, you can't be messed with. If you have your own steel, you can't be messed with.
Yeah.
You know, and I wonder, is X the company X, which is American Steel, and Elon, who wants the ticker.
Yeah.
I wonder, is that sort of also part of this? Because you've seen RC and Elon kind of converse and you know, signal to each other, potentially of Elon having some involvement. But I wonder, would X be actually kind of some part of this Keiretsu as being a huge kind
Didn't
of steel
someone
company
just
too?
buy them? I thought they just got
I
bought for
wonder.
like
I
8
wonder.
billion or something.
Well, okay. So, well, something's moving. You know, very interesting.
U.S. Steel to be acquired by Nippon Steel for 14 billion. So Japan Steel.
Oh, is that a Japanese company?
Yeah.
All right, interesting. And you know, remember Ryan Cohen bought some sort of shares in a gas company.
Oh, I don't remember.
Do you remember that?
Was. Yeah.
I don't remember which one, but he did. He certainly did. Anyway,
what's crazy is so this deal for U.S. Steel in 2024 for 14 billion. I believe it was it Carnegie? No, J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan originally formed U.S. Steel for 1.4 billion in like 1910 or something. So,
wow,
here we are over 100 years later, and it's only 10x.
Really, that's amazing. It's only 10. Jesus, it must be crazy undervalued, or else they just didn't do anything.
Yeah,
you know, for 100 years.
Yeah,
just sitting there. Like, that's crazy. That's a very interesting point. I mean, isn't it, like, it brings us back to the era of like the robber barons, right? Like the gilded age. You know, like, I mean, we just passed the level of wealth and equality of back then.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess when by the 1950s, a lot of things that were made out of like stamped steel was all being made out of plastic. So I guess, you know, a huge part of the market cap would have been eaten away by oil and gas in that respect.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, well, can you see steel being used, maybe needed in the future, or like maybe soon, maybe because, like, you notice, like, just the macro trends of deglobalization and supply chains being cut off, as kind of like to spite the face of you know, and many countries sort of splitting alliances, and you wonder, like, because, you know, of course, like, America's industry was like gutted, the coal and the steel. America, I think, needs to build itself, you know, and I kind of see the trend going towards that, you know, like bringing more industry back and that kind of thing. I kind of think that's part of the make GameStop great again or whatever.
I think a lot of U.S. National security, like, they recognized during COVID, like, how dependent we are upon other nations to provide like very integral items for our market, and we're like, oh shit,
absolutely,
they can crush us in a moment. Like, we need to bring this industry back and subsidize it. You know, WTO be damned. And so, like, our first big thing with that is these microchips and stuff.
Yes, yeah. Like, one of the things I've talked about is just like how much America is dependent on consumerism. Like, it's something like a 78% or thereabouts consumer society.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's what's it's running on. Like, I wonder, is this kind of retail renaissance part of it? You know, like is this part of an actual national security movement too? Like, that because, you know, there's a good argument to be made that there is the hidden hand of government that has always been there.
Yeah.
As well, like, now, like, Wall Street took over that job. but and didn't really give a fuck about anyone. But companies like General Motors, General Electric, and Sears, they were always like sort of backed by Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
There was a period in a recessionary time. I can't remember if it was like 29 or one of the world wars, but in the aftermath, Sears became like the lender of last resort for the common man.
Hmm.
Sears was deeply involved in sort of aerospace development for the U.S. Air Force. They designed one of their, I don't know if it was supersonic, but it was basically an experimental aircraft for the U.S. military. Sears also sold everything to the U.S. used in World War One and Two, and they say everything except the bullets.
Yeah.
But they probably sold the bullets too.
Yep.
So it's kind of Sears is kind of very interesting company in that way. Like the flag on the moon that came from a Sears.
Really?
Yes, there you go. I knew I could bring it back to astronomy for you. I'm so glad we got there. But yes, when NASA was, I think 3 people at NASA, they were asked to go get an American flag, and they all went to different Searses nearby, and they all bought a Sears flag. So there you go. The flag on the moon is from a Sears.
All right.
So think about that whenever you look at the moon. That's what I think about. I just think about Sears now. Yeah. That's cool. It's cool.
Excellent. Do I have more? I got a lot of people just sort of spouting their stuff in here. Snurtler, are there reporting requirements for expert market if somebody bought more than 10% of outstanding shares on Sears before they went to M3? I would assume they're still in a blackout because they're in bankruptcy, right?
Yes, there's a confidential treatment order.
Yeah.
That was renewed, so we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
There's no way we'd know. Good question, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I lost so much of the chat. I don't know what questions we'll ask people. I want to think like Graham Green did some
I love
memberships, and Low B bought some for people, and then there was one other one that I missed that got cut off, and I didn't have a chance to say thank you. But yeah, Charlie, thank you so much for coming by. That was fascinating.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I hope I didn't talk too much, but
no, it's great.
You actually talked about Sears.
Like I communicated a lot with Get It Got about Sears stuff probably like 2 years ago, and I've really not had much updates as to what anything is going on. So I thank you so much for being able to come by and yak at us. And
absolutely,
yeah,
I'm so happy to be able to. Could I read one more thing before?
Of course. Yep.
So this, as people in the Bed Bath play would remember, when Elizabeth Warren started spouting off about Bed Bath and stuff while they were in bankruptcy or around then, damaging the company's reputation in a critical time for them, and clearly, I mean, she's lobbied by Wall Street, like that's what I believe, and she's like the astroturfed opposition that is strangely ineffectual. But so the same thing happened with Sears and with Elizabeth Warren, and Lampert was dragged before them, and he wrote. This is something that he wrote and read before them. And it says, just the end of his letter, it says, after being accused of everything, stealing all the assets and stuff like that, which we now know is not true, he said, the truth is so much simpler and more straightforward. I believed in my vision for Sears Holdings and that the company would emerge from the retail revolution as a successful, transformative leader, and I was prepared to invest in that goal. It is why I never sold a single share in Sears Holdings and chose to be paid $1 a year and otherwise entirely in stock throughout my time as its chief executive officer. It is why ESL lent Sears Holdings $2.6 billion and why I have agreed to convert the vast majority of these loans into equity in the new Sears. It is why ESL never received or charged Sears Holdings any management fees. It is why today I continue to believe in and work for a profitable future for the new Sears. Sincerely, Eddie S. Lampert. So there you go.
Yeah. He's in it.
Boom.
He's in it to win it.
He's in it to win it. And he's in it with us.
Yes.
So we got a powerful, incredibly intelligent, I would say genius on our side.
Yeah.
So,
Man,
it's all
I
good, baby.
just
We're all gonna make it.
it just happened already.
I know. God damn, in 3 years. Let's go.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Houston. I really, really appreciate it. I love your show. I've always been watching it, and it's really an honor to speak with you. You've been carrying the torch for retail for so long, and you're a great guy. So
Thank you so much.
I hope to party with you.
You'll have to tune in on Wednesday. I tentatively have Bruno scheduled. He can kind of explain what the hell is going on.
All right.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that guy knows what's going on.
avoid as much drama as I can, but I am curious to see what his goals are. So next Wednesday will be that.
Yes. Very interesting.
Yeah. So
I'll tune in.
Yeah, tune in. We'll find out. Thank you so much, and have a great. Well, it's like 3:00 in the morning or whatever where you are. So
yeah, it's pretty late. But thank you so much as well.
Thank you.
I'll
some sleep.
See you later.
Have a good
night.
night.
See you later, Houston.
Right,
I
bye.
will. Take care. Bye.
Okay. So everybody, I'm gonna check off as well. Oh, I gotta turn off his little Sears doohickey. There we go. I want to thank everyone so much for joining me. I'm gonna do a show tomorrow, probably an afternoon show as well. Sorry I didn't get to one last night. I took the dog for a walk when Rose had to cancel, and then my sister just got back from Japan and she made Japanese curry, which is one of my favorite meals in the entire world. And then we hung out and I didn't get a show in. So it's okay. Hang out with your family when you get the chance. But I'll do a show tomorrow and we will be back to the normal format of you guys asking me questions. So if I didn't get to questions today, I apologize. A lot of them got cut off, and I apologize if super chats got cut off. There's just a lot going on in the chat and I never had a chance to scroll up and see it all. So thank you so much. I will catch you guys tomorrow and have yourselves a great day. Oh, I never did an intro, did I? I totally forgot to do an intro. So an outro it is. Boink. Okay. Peace.